Welcome to Magus of the League. This is a video podcast where we talk about Magic Sealed League as a format.
I am
your host, Lee Bond, and with my co-host, current shared league leader as well.
For Chaos League.
For Chaos League.
Yeah.
Which we're doing something special this week. We're kind of on our way into the holidays, so we're going to do a two-parter.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk this in the first part about GRN League and Ultimate Masters League.
Yep.
And then we'll jump into a second part where we're just going to purely talk about Chaos. We have 3 leagues running at the same time, so we have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Overlapping with the holidays and the fact that we had technical difficulties, so this is a week later than it should be. We're going to give you guys a ton of content.
But Lee, let's talk about this format.
Yeah, so for the uninitiated, we mentioned the word league.
Yeah.
League is a 60-card sealed format, lasting 5 to 8 weeks, exceptionally 9 to 10 apparently, where you add a single pack from the format every time you lose a match, or you are until you're eliminated. And if you are not eliminated, you make it to the Gaia's Cradle, the Golden Promised Land, the Mega Draft.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to be jumping into Mega Draft hard on this episode because that's where we're going into on Guild's Ravnica League.
That's correct. So, but first we have maybe like 2.5 weeks of play to catch up on.
Yeah, tons of cups. So let's just start firing off these bullets. Chris, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah.
Let's do Guilds of Ravnica League news. Go for it.
I mean, just because the last podcast we put out ended with you giving me the advice to just, play it out as soon as possible. I've got no reason to hide, no reason to try to protect my last life point. And then I went out, changed the deck based on your advice, which I don't know if it's good to take advice from your enemies in terms of deck building, but I did that.
We didn't play and you won a game, right?
Yeah.
So.
But then I went out and I faced Cameron Knowlton, and Cameron famously lost his league deck and did not want to go through the bother of borrowing cards or the expense of buying new ones to recreate his deck. And so basically was playing with his sideboard and still defeated me quite handily.
Yeah. Was his sideboard a Boros sideboard?
Yes. It seems like all the good decks that remain now are in some part.
Yeah. See, I had a strategy where I Boros main decked, and that got me to top 3. So, yeah. It
turns out that Boros in this format is very, very good. Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew? You know.
Moving on quickly, it turns out that not everybody takes elimination so well. We have a rain of salt. We have our first warning for bad sportsmanship. In the same week that I was eliminated, and a player who will not be named basically swore at his opponent, and we had to say, look, that's bad sportsmanship, and say, look, if you keep this up, we're going to have to nudge you out of...
Yeah, I mean, our format is a casual format. We admit it, but it also has its inkling towards a more structured and competitive format. There's prize packs on the line. It's a regular play. And, it's just good sportsmanship to shake the hand at the end and, say good game. And often you can go get good advice from the people that you played against. Spitting in their face and really getting in there, it's not going to condone the kind of community that we encourage, right? So
it's not going to build any goodwill. It's not going to help you in the long run or help the league in the long run. And we strongly, try to police against this kind of behavior because it's toxic, and we try to reduce all kinds of toxicity. Most people are happy to take loss because they get to open a pack. Elimination's a bit different. The sting is real there because you are kind of getting knocked at something. You've worked hard. I realize that. At the end of a league, you've probably put in 5, 6, 7 weeks of work on your deck, and you want to succeed. By that time, if you're still playing by that point, you want to win. You want to get to the Mega Draft. I know it can sting, but you have to be a graceful loser at a certain point, or a gracious loser, I should say.
Yeah. And I mean, you had mentioned in our last podcast, another podcast book combo, Mental Mana.
Yeah.
I've been listening to those podcasts on my way to work, and I think, a lot of the success that I've been having recently comes into just having a positive attitude and having fun with it.
Yep.
The decision process and learning how to play and improving your play often come from not attacking and being like aggressive or luck or whatever. You can't influence luck. You can influence your play. And introspection is the way to go on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a chance when you lose. It's a chance to reflect on your practice, and see if you could tighten your game up.
Exactly.
And really, what we're doing for each other is we're providing sparring partners. We're running a dojo here.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
For getting better at our little martial art.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yep. So, getting up to speed. That's old news. Now we're in an unprecedented week 9 of Guilds of Ravnica League. We never had this before in every other league tournament.
Yeah.
Enough people have been knocked out by week 8 to never have admitted the possibility of week 9. But now we are in the very beginning of week 9. There were 9 players left until yesterday.
Yeah.
When young Pigeon was knocked out by Niv Richard, and that did not bring an end to the tournament. Now here's something you should know. If this is your first league or your second league, the tournament does not just end when you arrive immediately at 8 players. The week of play has to finish itself out. So people have a chance to get as many points as they can and scramble for that last edge before they go into the mega draft. And so I'm expecting that strategically no one will have any reason to hold back. The blood will flow freely in the streets.
See, I was thinking about that
insane.
Because the thing is everybody who came into the week started at the same level, 14-10. There's about half the players that started at that level, I think, or 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. 4.
They could essentially lose their secure spot on tiebreakers.
If Pigeon went 2-1 instead of 2-0 when he went out.
Yeah. That's true, but then anybody who started 14-10 has to play anyways, right? That's the other thing too. I forgot about that part because that's the thing too. Choice. It's like we started the week. There was only 2 of us that were guaranteed to
3,
go.
I think there were 3 players at 27
that didn't need to play.
You could play up to 30 matches by the end of this week.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. We did a little bit of math on relating that on the chat too. It actually is directly proportional to the number of players in a league. So in Chaos League,
not directly. I mean, it depend on player skill.
It is depending on player skill and
distribution
of
wins and losses. Yeah.
But considering an equal distribution of mathematics, it's a bell curve, right? So if you're thinking of your this word, I haven't used it since college. Standard deviation. Mm-hmm. The larger your pool, the larger your standard deviation. So to get that top 8, which is a smaller segment of that standard deviation,
right,
it has to play itself out, which means that the curve takes longer time period, right?
Fun thought experiment.
So, yeah.
Earliest that a league could possibly end, and of course this has never happened before either, is week 3. And that is if you had a 9-player league and one player lost every match they played and refused to sit on their matches, refused to bank anything, and just played themselves to death. Then you could have a hypothetical league that would end in week 3. That's never happened.
Yeah.
But it's conceptually possible.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why we say it normally takes 5 weeks. People are.
Yeah, these are the exceptions, like small rules. So,
and I don't think in practice with a reasonable variation between player skill that you'd ever see week 10.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we got a week 9 this time even.
So, as you were saying.
Yes.
Niv Richard eliminating Julian in the early hours of this week.
That's right. That means we have a top 8 and it's already locked.
Yeah.
We have Johnny, Mariani, David Young. We have yourself in 3rd place. Congratulations.
This is my second top 8.
Yes. We'll talk a little more about that later on. We have Niv Richard himself, Robert Anderson, Julian, and Chris Gortz, and also Gabriel. Now Gabriel's interesting because he's the 3rd player from the Selesnyan Conclave to enter the top 8. Yeah. So we've stacked it.
I mean, he was our underdog. There's always an underdog.
We never expected him to make it, right?
There's always an underdog.
I did.
Last league, it was Antoine Dufour.
Yes.
This league, it was Gabriel, that guy who comes in, sneaks in those last few wins in a row, just ups his win percentage and just knocks out a bunch of people, gets him in. And he really pulled it off.
He earned it.
He earned it hard.
Yeah.
You know, he did what you could, as we say. So,
I tell you what, when I top 8 a league, I'm in the top, 1st, 2nd, 3rd rank.
You don't.
If I can't do that going into it, I'm like, I'll let this one go.
You'll just slide.
Catch the next lift.
Fair enough.
As you'll see in Chaos League. We talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about reasons for not playing.
Yeah.
I had one that just came to me. I'm currently not playing.
Right.
And I'll tell you why.
Sure.
So I know for a fact that I will not be attending the Mega Draft. Therefore, to maximize my prize packs, I need to finish as the Perun for my guild this week. Which means I will only start playing once Niv Richard gets eliminated Because on tiebreakers, I'm guaranteed the Perun pack.
Right, and you'll be the Perun if he knocks himself out.
Exactly.
However, you're missing the big picture. Because the more points you have, the higher rank you get in the top 8, even if you don't play the finals.
That's fair. However, if I don't play a single game in the finals, I'm automatically given 3 losses, as per the rules, for anybody who's new.
Well, no 3 losses, you just don't get those points at all.
No, but I just get 3 losses, which is 0 points, right? Yeah. Which means that anybody who's playing against me would automatically get a bye. Yep. Therefore, automatically get those 3 points. Right. Which means there's no mathematical possible way for someone not to finish at least 3 points higher against me in the standings.
No, not necessarily.
Yes, 100%.
Well, let's look at the lowest. Right now, you're at how many points?
Right now, I'm at 17.
Lowest guy in the ladder is 14.
Correct. So if that person matches up against me with a bye, they automatically go to 17.
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
The people who are at 14 are likely going to get knocked out in their next game and end the tournament at 14 points. You can still
get 1 extra point and go back up.
Yeah.
However,
so you're 2 matches ahead of your opponents.
In an 8-person elimination tournament, right?
Well, it's not okay. It's 8-person. It's Swiss rounds.
Correct, Swiss rounds. Yeah, but it's still pairing based on record, right? So still in a situation where it's pairing based on record, there's only one person who can go 0-3, and that person's already been decided. It's me. So
you're assuming that you're the only person who's not going to make the finals.
What do you mean?
There might be somebody else who can't make the finals.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a fair. However,
we don't know.
Thinking from a strategic pack point, I think the packs start cascading from 1 through 6, right? And 5th and 6th player only get 1 or 2 packs.
Not a lot.
Exactly.
So they get their pools. They get their pools.
Yeah, but I also get my pool.
Yeah.
And by getting the Perun pack, I guarantee myself as good a ranking as 6th player or more. Or less.
All right.
So
the Perun pack really matters to you.
It doesn't matter that much, actually. The title and the gloating rights of being the actual is a Perun. Okay. You know, we've been talking about guilds for weeks now, and back and forth and the rivalry and all that. And our guild in particular.
You want to take this away from Richard?
Yeah, we were known for poor sportsmanship. We finished dead last in points, and all of our teammates, like me and Richard, just like we're the only ones carrying the team. Our teammates all got eliminated early. No support.
Cut him.
Yeah, no support. No support. It's like no teaching, no helping. Just pure. Everybody else is not playing each other thing. We're just taking everybody to town, and you know, at the end of it, I would really like that gloating right to just be like, you know what, I'm the better player in it. You know?
Yeah. That's fair because he did lord it over you the first couple of weeks of league, right?
He did.
He enjoyed that.
And we all know part of the league is friendly gloating.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course. Yeah.
Earned gloating, I'm going to say. Like,
yeah. So the posting of gifts may happen.
Yeah.
There may be images posted with people's names, calling them out. That's fine. That's part of the.
I mean, I'm probably going to throw.
Friendly ribbing.
I may or may not try and find some like Jerry Thompson gifts and throw them in there and just taunt how good I am, that I'm so good that I can't play.
Right.
Boycotting and protesting for some reason that's non-existent.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Guys, we're not paid enough as league players.
Pay the pros.
Yeah, pay the pros.
Well, we tried to.
And the league players.
Well, that was Ultimate Masters League.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
We're
trying to pay the pros. So anyway, we're going into the Mega Draft finals now. Mega Draft, as Lee said, is something we need to discuss. The format for this Mega Draft will be a 5-pack. It's the smallest possible Mega Draft.
Yeah.
It's Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, and then we draft Dominaria. Next pack is M19, and we finish it off with Guilds of Ravnica.
Yeah, so it's every set in standard in the chronological order.
Yeah.
You know.
And you make a 60-card deck with that, and you fight it out through the Swiss rounds.
Yeah.
The finals will take place on Sunday, December 16th. You may or may not hear that by this time, so you might know who the winner is. If so, good for you. But we don't know at this point, at the point of recording.
No, that is correct.
And Lee, you say you're locked, but you can't play. Can you explain why that is?
Well, I did explain why.
You're going on a...
what do you mean? Oh, I'm going on a trip to Disney World. I'm taking, League is important and Magic is important,
right?
But, relationships and travel are more important.
Priorities.
Priorities, yeah.
Okay, so do you get a free trip to Disneyland by mentioning this on camera? You say, I'm going to Disneyland! Remember that thing in the 80s or
No, they
90s
do that in the NFL. It's at the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, they still do that.
Well, they still do that?
Yeah, they still do that.
Do you get
Johnny Marinette can throw you a gif at that and taunt you about it.
Do you get a free trip?
I do not. Okay. I do not.
Maybe.
But maybe someone will see it and then challenge me to a League duel in Disney World after the fact,
That'd be pretty...
intense. But that is why I'm sitting out. For new players, it's good to know if you qualify for a top 8, you're automatically qualified for those packs, whether you mega draft or not.
That's right.
So me personally, I completed my first ever Planeswalker challenge at this league.
Congrats.
And
what is a Planeswalker challenge?
So a Planeswalker challenge, we've talked about this before in the league, but just to reiterate, is when you take one pack of each set in the format and add it. So you're guaranteed whether some people pick specific packs on strategy. You're like, nope, I'm throwing strategy out the window, and I'm opening one pack from each set.
Spin that wheel.
Spin the wheel. Yeah. I believe you and Amir are the tradition holders of this.
Yeah.
And I decided to give it a run. It was a lot of fun. It paid off really well for me.
Yeah. You get strange stuff.
Yeah, and now
people aren't expecting it.
The prize pool, because it's at one of every pack in the thing, will provide me my Planeswalker challenge for the next league. I will say, however, I gave myself an advantage, because if you want to talk about this in the Planeswalker challenge, I did do them in order.
Yep, that's the traditional way.
Yeah, however, I didn't start until halfway through. So I had already built my deck, and I knew the cards that were going to play into the strategy that I wanted much more so than if I was like opening random and changing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because the thing was, is like I had opened a lot of guilds immediately from prize pools that I had won at pre-release.
Okay.
So by the time I started my Planeswalker challenge, I had already cemented where I was, and in that regard, strategically speaking, the packs that I'm opening, I'm looking for pieces, right? Whereas usually the first couple of packs you open are helping you build your strategy.
Right.
So I would have say, like, if I'd opened Rivals, Ixalan early, I might have gone back to those because I might have been in a tribal mechanic that I didn't see until later. And whereas now that tribal mechanic was my sideboard. You know, I had it, I saw it, but I was like, what I'm playing is much better than this. So.
So it didn't hurt you as much as it possibly
could have.
Right.
However, I believe you did yours out of order this time, so no criticism.
I did, yeah. I wimped out.
You wimped out.
And it didn't do me any good. So I regret everything.
Credit to Amir, who was the only one who actually did it through.
Yeah, but he also paid the price.
He also paid the price.
He paid the iron price for that.
So anybody who's interested in trying a Planeswalker challenge for the upcoming Ravnica Allegiance, that would be my suggestion. Start at pack 6. Do your 5 packs first, and then start at pack 6.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that pretty much wraps up where Guilds of Ravnica is. We're just in the dying days of it. What I should say before we move on, though, is that due to the timing of the Guilds of Ravnica finals, it falls on the 16th of December. Around that time is normally when we have our annual Secret Santa Mega Draft. This is our 4th annual such event. We're having 2 of these this year, one at 2 o'clock at the store and one at 5:30 at Benelux afterwards. Now, what is a Secret Santa Draft, you might ask, and I'll tell you.
What is a Secret Santa draft?
Let me tell you, Lee. It's 6 packs of home-wrapped boosters.
Yes.
You have 1 rare, 3 uncommons, and 11 other cards. 2 cards from each color, and then 5 of whatever. And some people decide to make like Santa, and they put in Emrakuls and really chase cards and really exciting cards. Some people make like Scrooge, and just before the draft they'll buy like a 15-cent rare from the bulk section that can't be used or played, and they'll stick it in there just to troll people. So there's both like wow moments, and there's also like ugh moments, or like just laughter's like, oh my god, who did this to me moments. So there's like there's a whole range of emotions. It's one of our more popular events. We only have it once a year. And yeah, it's highly recommended. So if you get a chance to come in, or if you're already at the Guilds of Ravnica finals,
I care more about missing that than missing the Guilds of Ravnica finals.
Really?
Yeah, I wish we were doing one for New Year's. I would totally get in on it.
You know what? If it's a success, I don't see why we shouldn't have it more often.
Yeah.
Like, I'm into doing it more often than we have been. Other people think that the trouble of making their own packs might be a bit onerous.
Yeah.
But for me, I like the challenge.
I'm just saying, you're willing to take on more work at this point, Chris. You know, three committees, 3 leagues,
special events,
all that type of stuff.
Let's just say that I'm looking for work right now.
Yeah.
And until I get it, you know, I'm happy to put in a little bit of extra effort.
Yeah.
That might change in the near future if I get some fish on the line.
Yeah. I mean, as promo committee members ourselves, we could give ourselves the challenge to come up with some even more interesting and fun formats in the new year, thematically tied.
We could.
I'm going to put in a New Year's prediction, if I may, tied to the Secret Santa. This is my little fun thing. Okay. I think our next set, if you will, or out of standard set, since they're not going to be doing Masters, is a second Battle Bond. I think the first one was very successful.
It was a lot of fun.
And it was a lot of fun, not just for us. I mean, in general, I think Battle Bond was a very successful product for Wizards.
And there's a lot of value in those packs.
And just as the cycle, if you look, it's like they did multiple unsets. They did multiple conspiracy sets. So they could go back to another conspiracy draft format.
They probably will. And here's why I'm thinking that, because they're bringing back the character Kaya, the Ghost Assassin.
Yeah.
She's one of the Planeswalkers that's going to be featured in Ravnica and Legions.
Yeah.
And so that's tying in the plane of Fiora in there. It's kind of seeding a return.
Okay.
Or it's tying the Fiora lore into the mainstream
lore.
Magic lore. So I think that we're going to see another conspiracy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just pure speculation.
Pure speculation.
They haven't announced the next announcement day, so we don't know.
Secret Santa. Well, it's usually around Christmas, right? So
we don't know what's in the tubes.
Yeah, we don't know. But this is our Secret Santa moment.
Yeah.
They're just shooting the jazz.
But no, it's important that you mention this because we, for the most part, unless we're doing Secret Santa drafts, unless we're doing Chaos Leagues, we dance to the tune of the Piper. That Piper is Wizards of the Coast. And this time the tune was mighty erratic. So we're talking now about Ultimate Masters.
Yeah.
The set that they decided to hold in secret until around a month before they released it, and just threw players, tournament coordinators, and stores alike for a loop. We didn't know it was coming, and so we couldn't really prepare a mainstream league for this set, as fun as it seems to be for leaguing.
I mean, I would debate that. I'm not interested in leaguing it.
You're not interested? No, well, price tag's too high?
Well, so it's not just the price tag. We're playing Chaos League, which we'll be talking about in part 2 of this extra long Christmas special episode, if you will, or holiday special.
Are we going to change shirts between episodes?
Maybe.
Just to make it seem like more time has elapsed?
Exactly. I do have an ugly Christmas sweater.
No, let's do that.
But I opened an Ultimate Masters pack into the Chaos Pool.
You did?
I did. And I found that because the mechanics are very graveyard and discard reliant, it doesn't play nice with anybody else.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I also cracked a UMA pack, and I got Gorgo's Vengeance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, all my legendaries can now come back from the graveyard. I got 0 legendaries
exactly.
in my pool. So that did not work out.
Yeah. So from a league perspective,
yeah.
I think that from a mass market, it would have probably just been a bunch of us buying over and over a UMA to feed into the synergies that work into it, right?
Possibly.
Could have been fun.
That's the house always wins that game.
Yeah, for sure. And the interesting thing is like, as far as standard formats and the Chaos formats are going, is you want to be able to give people the option of taking their deck wherever they want to. I would have felt that, thinking about it, it might have leaned kind of heavy into one that unless you had a structure that prevented you from going back to UMA as a set.
Right. Like Chaos League.
Yeah.
So let's talk now about a slightly different topic, that of the Invitational. So a long time ago, I had this idea that I wanted to offer something special to our dedicated player base as a reward.
Yeah.
A promotional tournament, one that the store would kind of kick in some free or discounted prizes for, as a kind of thank you for running 3 years of successful events at their store. So I had already planned something before Ultimate Masters was released.
Yeah.
But it was going to be something really wacky. It was going to be like Explorers of Ixalan board game format or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And even the guys in the store were like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Who's going to get hyped about this? Who could get hyped about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, we got to do something better." So we sat on the idea. We sat on it. And we sat on it until Ultimate Masters was released. Now, when we found out what the MSRP is, we, like most of the Magic community, were shocked at the price. And at the time when Ultimate Masters was released, like I say, or was announced, the league would have been $120.
Yeah.
Which is more expensive by a pretty large factor over any other league that we've run. And I couldn't really feel good selling it at that price. And more to the point, I put a poll on the Guilds of Ravnica League chat on Facebook, and most people, maybe 2 or 3, I meant 3 is sort of charitable, people expressed interest. Everybody else universally panned it, and they say, "No, I would not spend that money on that product." I'm not interested. I'll never do it. And so the idea of Ultimate Masters as a main league was shelved, and then I started putting two and two together and saying, well, look, Ultimate Masters, it's a set that Wizards of the Coast themselves have said is not for everyone. Mm-hmm. The Invitational is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's based on performance. It's based on the points you accumulated since Ixalan.
Yeah.
And so let's make this interesting for the players who have qualified for this tournament, and let's make it an Ultimate Masters Invitational League.
Yeah.
So put the two things together, peanut butter and chocolate. Now, this launched last week, this crazy idea. I want to talk more about how we came up with the concept, how we disastrously announced
it. Announced it.
And first of all, let me tell you.
Well, let's start with I'm gonna talking about cause
you take.
I'm gonna take. You're swimming here. I'm just gonna say this.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take the pressure because you took a lot of heat over this.
Some heat.
Yeah. It was like a cooking an oven, man.
It was a blowback.
Yeah, but the reason being is because Magic is a general rule, and the league especially. I know you want it to be as inclusive as possible.
It's always been the case.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've had an invitation-only event.
Exactly. Now, there is an element of transparency to this, because if you go, anybody who's on the league right now, and look at your current league standings, you'll see at the bottom, the box, the top 8 of the overall leagues for the year.
Yeah.
Which, to my understanding, will reset after this Masters League, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
and it will not include the next year's standings will not include the results of this invitational tournament.
Yeah. The other thing too is, as far as people who have qualified, it is an invitational, so they were extended into invitation first. But that doesn't mean that it was inclusive to those people only.
No,
there were people who you mentioned the word deferred or refused their entry.
Yeah.
And which points it fell to the next qualified person based on those standings.
Correct. So there was Amir was qualified. He, basically deferred his invitation. Said, "Look, I can't do this." So it trickled down to Robert Anderson.
Yeah.
Robert Anderson deferred. It trickled down to Frankie Richard, and he deferred, and it went all the way down to Michel Jutrat, who I think was sitting there in 10th or 11th place.
Yeah.
And so it went down that far in the rankings.
And he hadn't been in a league for a while, because as far as I remember,
no.
I think he was in Dominaria when I started, and he dropped out for a long time.
He did, and the only tournament that he played, he came first place in Ixalan.
Yeah.
So it's he's really just juicing those points.
Yeah, getting that
from his best result.
Yeah.
And then he was out of Magic. He was out of Magic League for so long.
Yeah.
That when he came back for Chaos League, he got a standing ovation, and I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like when he walked in and said, "I'm joining," everyone was like, "Oh." It made me want to quit for half a year just to get that kind of reception.
I don't get applause whenever I play Magic.
Well, you should take
some time off.
Yeah, take some time.
I don't think I've established myself enough to. I have to win a league first to get that respect.
I think he was a mainstay for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of went silent for a better part of a year.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, everyone was like, "Oh."
I think that's a tendency with a lot of Magic players. It comes in waves.
Yeah, if you're not quitting League as a format, you're quitting Magic as a game.
Yeah.
And then you some time elapses and you start to remember the good things about it, and then you.
Or you dust off an old deck and you're like, man, I miss it. Can I go back into it? And League is a good way to do that because it's not expensive.
It's not.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing Ultimate Masters at $120 a pop.
That is correct.
Which I don't recommend.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the format. Keep going into that.
Sure. So it's a round robin format, which means that.
Which is different for a league.
Which is different for a league. That's another weird thing about this. So each player plays each other player only once.
Yeah.
And there are a maximum of 3 matches a week. And you have to grind out all 7 matches within 5 weeks. So we have given ourselves an extra week because it's the holidays.
Yeah.
Originally it was going to be just 4, but we said, okay, 5.
So there's no minimum then?
There's no minimum.
Yeah. So you can play 1 match a week, you can play no matches that week.
Yeah.
You just, by the end of the tournament, you have to have played your 7 matches and you have to have played everybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we want people to take the time to really tune their decks to their satisfaction. We want every match to matter. We want every match to be played under ideal conditions, so that we really know who the best player is of the best.
Yeah,
that's the goal. So it's a very different approach than any other tournament we've run. There's on top of Michel Jutrat, there's Julian, there's Pigeon, there's Richard, there's David Young again, Gabriel. Johnny and myself. I've kind of taken a bloody nose in this first week. I went 1-2.
After starting a survey on the chat to see if you would be the best player and win the whole thing. So I still have my money on LSV showing up randomly and taking a slot and winning for...
That's karma, yeah. So. But I tell you what, I am going to Denver, Colorado in February. So LSV, if you're watching this and you want to do a segment for our podcast, give me a smoke signal or something. Let me know. Yeah. I'm reaching out here
and we'll
publicly.
Happily interview you about the format. I'm sure he understands the concept. So
I think there's a few other Titans in Denver, Colorado. Isn't Patrick Chapin also there?
That's possible. I don't follow the pros that much, other than people that I listen to on podcasts. So maybe I should follow a little bit more.
I don't know. But anyway, so we'll be in the same place in the same time. So maybe we can work something out. We'll see what we can do. We'll see how bold I feel.
Yeah,
how much extra time I have while I'm down there. Okay, so next up. What are we talking about? We're talking about a debate here. Is the Invitational Tournament a good thing with a capital G?
Well, before we go into that, I just want to clarify some other things, because this was a point of contention too, in terms of the structure.
Sure.
One, there was prize packs. Typically, when we do a sponsored event, thank you Face to Face, for sponsoring an event, one, there's either a beneficial price at entry, like there was for Chaos League, or there's prize packs that are added as a official WotC event, because for people who are considering starting their own leagues in their own game stores, you can go and get sanctioned as a league, despite the fact that this is not the traditional format for the League of Magic the Gathering.
And you get your promo cards.
Exactly. Promo cards, prize packs added by the store, the whole thing.
Sometimes boxes when they print them.
Yeah. This was not the case for this particular league, right? It's basically, you guys, from my understanding, are just splitting the cost of the boxes and are playing for box toppers.
Yeah, we got a slight discount on the box.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
Yeah.
And we got one prize pack each.
Yeah.
From just showing up.
Exactly.
And we decided that was the way to split it. So the prizes, there's no big pack prizes. The main prize, what we're competing for, is just the box toppers.
Yeah, and recognition.
And recognition.
2018 Player of the Year.
I should explain that to you. So the box toppers were an interesting thing, because we knew that the 8-player pools were going to make us open 2 boxes of product. So what we did was I went there on day 1, and with a member of Face to Face's kindly counterstaff, we saw that the box toppers were not folded, not tampered with. In each other's presence, we took them, we put them in an envelope, unopened, sealed the envelope with our signatures over the seal.
And then shone a flashlight on them.
Put tape over the signatures. I made sure that nobody...
That was a joke, because if you don't know about this yet, but the box toppers, you can see through them with a flashlight, right?
But we don't know. So the 2 envelopes, so we have an envelope and then 2 box toppers. You're not going to be able to shine a light through that.
Yeah.
Right, so it's basically in the vault now. And whoever opens whichever box topper is going to be random. So it's very possible for there's a 50% chance that the second person is going to open a more valuable prize than the first person who places in the tournament.
Yeah.
But the first person will still have that recognition.
Yeah.
Which is the real prize.
That's what it's really all about.
So enjoy the recognition in your Raging Ravine.
Yeah.
While second place
gets a
Snapcaster or a Liliana.
and glorifies himself in second place as the second
there's 2 box toppers in this envelope. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it's not cascading, so it doesn't benefit them at all.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, all that to say, another reason why I will not be participating, just not enough prizes to pull me out of the shadows,
There's that.
So,
but we wanted to talk about whether this was a good thing for me.
Yeah, so that being said, all the information is on the table.
I think so, unless you can think of anything else we left out. But we can bring it out in the debate. But is an exclusive invitational tournament a good thing for a format that is based on inclusivity, right? So the whole idea is that give us your poor, you're unwashed, you're ignorant, and we will give them a spot in league.
Yeah.
And they can league as well, potentially, as any other league. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that's open to new players as well as to the veterans, to anybody. And, I mention this a lot, this is a format that I greatly appreciate, and I don't think it's restrictive as even to the point of our sponsored league at our store. Someone can open up a league to them and 8 buddies. All they need is the initial box,
Yep.
And it's a very accessible format, and it's something that you can do in a workplace, at a school. It's very, very affordable.
The origin of the format in the 2007, 2008 was at cafes in Tokyo.
Yeah.
That's where this kicked off.
Yeah.
And that was very informal. There were no records kept. There's other than wins, losses communicated via email perhaps, but nothing no paper records.
Exactly.
People just cracking weird packs. It was a beautiful kind of, it was like free-form jazz.
Mm-hmm.
What we have now is a bit more structured, probably a bit more amenable to large-scale treatments, I think.
Yeah.
We're getting closer to standardization. There's still a few,
but I think it's also
you yourself
small.
noticed some loopholes in the rules that we had to close. We're trying to sort of strike this balance between the rules becoming too Byzantine and too built up, and being so simple that there are holes in them.
Until WotC can print a flyer that they send out with every box. Here's how to lead.
Yeah.
Hey, you bought a box. Here's how to lead. You know?
Yeah.
One day.
Let me bring up the good things.
Yeah.
I think there are some good things. The good things for me about running an invitational are the following. It means that not only does every match in every league matter because it pays off in the mega draft, but how you do in every mega draft matters because those will get you points to lead you into the Player of the Year invitational tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes it adds a layer of richness to the experience that wasn't there before. Mm. And now, maybe you don't need that. Yeah. Maybe you don't. But I think all other things being considered, it's a richer tournament series for it existing.
Yeah. I think so. In that regard, it's understandable. The format has grown a lot just in the year that I've been playing. Mm-hmm. At some point, you're going to start creating tiers. We often call it leagues. Okay. Comparatively to soccer leagues, right?
Right.
There's the world leagues, pro leagues, junior leagues. I have no idea. I don't actually watch soccer.
Yeah.
But not all of when you get to a certain volume, we can't have a league running for 15 weeks. It deters people from it because they're not interested as much as that in the format, and it grows stale over time.
I think 2 months, a month and a half.
Yeah.
Month and a half / 2 months.
Yeah.
It's enough for you to fully explore a set.
So eventually, you're going to have to create a section of tiers based on either qualification, some kind of qualification, or general skill set or recognition or whatever. But this, I think, is the first kind of step. This is our PPTQ, if you will.
Yeah, it's our Pro Tour.
Pro Tour has to be worldwide. You have to have multiple.
Right. Okay. Sure.
I think we're starting.
It's our RPTQ.
Our RPTQ. Yeah. We're declaring who's the best of the 8. If 8 other stores worldwide were to do the same thing, we would send that one person to play those 8 other people. That would be the way I would see
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Down the line.
Down the line.
Yeah. But I mean, the counter is that it can feel bad in terms of this is an elitist and exclusionary practice. It's something that keeps people out or creates a barrier to play. To this, I get my defense to this feeling, which was expressed by a player or two, is simply that if you think that this is exclusive or elitist, then so is the Olympics, so is the Pro Tour of Magic, so is any activity which requires the demonstration of skill. And I think Magic is one of those things that even at the level of league, we obviously are still trading in skill for performance.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be ashamed of saying, look, that's a really good player, and people have that reputation, right?
Yeah.
You're getting that reputation in league.
What?
Yeah, you are, because look, you're top 8ing regularly. You were the top in Guilds of Ravnica. You're also the top now.
I need to change my strategy. I want to stay under the radar.
Well, under the radar is not going to win you the maximum amount of prize packs, which is also part of your plan, I think.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, probably.
And so here's the thing, you don't want to feel bad about having the reputation, right? You earned the reputation.
Yeah.
And so why not? There's no reason to sort of feel bad about that and feel like.
Yeah. But I will put
it's the nature of the beast.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate in this situation. I'm gonna. We're not going to let ourselves off the hook, right? Because we're part of the promo committee and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that where the problem arose and the kind of controversy arose is the Olympics are transparent. The NBA transparent. We all know who's going to the championship finals and how the playoffs are
There are
run.
protocols in place.
Exactly. We have those protocols. Yeah. However, they were not evident. They were not communicated. Yeah. They were not elaborated upon. Right now. going into the next year, if this were to arise again, we can say, look, guys, this is how you do it. This is how you qualify. Yeah. Starting now on this podcast, after the year rotates, if you want to qualify for this Invitational next year, you got to do the best that you can and play as many leagues as you can, right? Yeah. This is how you qualify. Yeah. We didn't do that this year. You know,
it was the first one.
It was the first one.
The Olympics have the benefit of having existed since ancient, Greek times.
I'm sure the first one in the Greeks, they were like, "Why didn't I get an invite?" But and the fact too, I know paired with like the timing with Ultimate Masters, it made it really short notice. Yeah. However, I'm just saying how we improve upon it. You know, I'm doing it right now live on the podcast for you guys. It's we've explained the process of how to qualify, what the tournament's about. In the event, which I hope there's another one. You know, I hope that we see a competition. This just raises the stakes beyond that mega draft. You know, mega drafting is fun and winning one is too, but the appeal to stay longer and play the format longer is to say like, oh, I won 3 mega drafts. That's going to qualify me for this big invitational, next year.
It makes it more of a community, I think, long term. Yeah. And look, I just made a note here. I'm going to produce a document called "The Road to the League Invitational" that will lay out both the algorithm that Johnny created for tracking points and for explaining to people when the next yearly qualifier begins from which set, and so that'll be published within the next week or so. By the time that this is edited, maybe you can link to it in the notes.
Yeah, this is like some fireside Christmas Eve reading.
We're gonna put a pause on the player featurettes until the new year. We're gonna try to record a new batch of players, maybe some new players, maybe with some better background visuals, maybe with some less background noise.
Yeah. I mean, we're the podcast. We're at episode 5.6. You know what I mean? We were saying it's going to be a 2-parter. It's evolving. Like the format, and we're new to this. We gotta admit it. We gotta admit it. We're new to this. If they haven't seen it already, then it's clear that we're amateur extraordinaire.
Long-time listener, first-time podcaster.
Exactly. So we've started to kind of come up with an outline structure where we do news, followed by format, followed by strategy, and then we're going to try and integrate these new interviews. So that was the idea, and hopefully we'll make it better and better for you guys. Yeah. That's the idea. So
hope you enjoyed that human interest feature.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go into our final ramble section. Yeah. Where we just kind of jaw about general things. We had a pretty interesting discussion pre-podcast. I didn't know if we should have any of that kind of appear on the air, or if that just should stay off the air.
It's up to you. I don't know. Yeah. It's committee stuff. From a player perspective, committee stuff is pretty boring.
It's pretty boring.
It's pretty boring. I'm in committees, and I was like, oh, pretty boring. Yeah. I think one of the takeaways is to understand is that as the father of League right now, this format, you take a lot of heat for a lot of things, I know. But there are structures and committees in place, and a lot of the stuff that we've discussed today when it comes to rules and stuff like that, these are decided by more than one person. On average, 4 people, each committee's.
Well, 5 for rules.
5 for rules.
And that's important because we need a tiebreaker vote.
Yeah.
In order to change a rule, we need 4 out of 5. Yeah. In order to have a policy decision, we need 3 out of 5. We talk about transparency a lot. We could be more transparent about the way the committees work. Yeah. And a document outlining that is probably also necessary. Yeah. Thanks for adding that to my list of
things to do. Yeah. But I think one thing that we were discussing prior to the show that would be nice to touch on again is I had mentioned that I mean, a lot of people see me trash talking about the different decisions being made in the chats, because we have group chats regarding our league. Yeah. Our aspiration, and this is kind of why I joined on the podcast with you, is to push this format beyond the boundaries of our local game store to other local game stores and have it expanded to other people. And as you said, it's a work in progress, and I think one of the things that we say is we want to get it to a point where the rules are structured that you give a person, here's a book how to league, 5-page brochure, go. And then they can set it up
down to 2 pages, ideally.
Yeah, 2 pages. But there is a lot of complexity to the format. It's a player-run format, which adds a lot to it. It's casual but also competitive. It's a format that's supported but also not supported. There's so many dichotomies.
Yeah, but don't undersell it, man. We've been doing this for
3 years.
3 years here, 2 years in Dubai, and the best part of the year in Japan. That's 6 years of experience in running tournaments. We kind of know what works. We got a good formula down, and what works really works well.
Yeah.
And really, it's just the nuts and bolts of making sure that
it's the polish.
It's the polish, exactly. And what gets us into trouble is when we start doing stuff like changing the rules here and there to fit, say, special events like this Invitational.
Yeah.
We had to come up with a whole new rule system for that. It's exciting, and it pushes the format in new directions. But at the same time, it can have the kind of optics like, wow, this thing is not really set in stone. But there are some foundational elements to the format that I think will always be there. 60-card format instead of 40 for a limited. The idea that you add a pack with each loss, and that kind of sweetens it for you. It takes the sting out of the loss, or helps you develop strategically, even if you're not getting a winning record.
Yeah,
those are the sort of like pillars, if you want. And then things like, well, is it round robin? Is it elimination?
Yeah.
Does it last for a fixed number of weeks? Or does it surprise us and go a random number of weeks every time?
Yeah.
These are things that, obviously the Rules Committee is debating about. And when we start putting in special features like the guilds, for Guilds of Ravnica, there's a Rules Committee debate right now about whether we should wait until week 2 to assign people into guilds. And it turns out that we're going to, I think, end up doing that. I get a very strong feeling that the Rules Committee is going to support this motion. Because Selesnya, as a matter of fact, is, 22 points ahead of any competing guild?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, as it turns out. So look, maybe 1 week is not enough for the dust to settle, for players to really reveal their true strengths.
Well, a good indication of any format of Magic is that I want to say like standard deviation again. We already talked about it. It's like if there's one player that's like obscenely ahead of everybody, and it's not getting corrected on its own, there's usually something to look into in terms of how the format is working out. Because statistically speaking, even the best players in the world only have like a 60-70% win ratio, and
but that's against the
it's against the best players in the world. But we're not the best players against the world. We're the average players playing the average players. Our win ratios are very similar to that. Right. Even I'm a top 3. My win ratio is 66%. Right. If I was to be at 95%, I would investigate myself for cheating, because that's not possible unless you're really, really, really lucky or something like that. And especially when it comes to structures that are out of the control of the players, like points as a guild situation. Like, yes, everybody has their contribution to make to that thing, but if one guild is 35 points below the average and one is 25 points above the average, well, maybe the placement, if it's supposed to be placed fairly, there was a disparity there that needed to be corrected. And even that, I'm not saying 2 weeks is the right solution. That was just the one that you had recommended to fix it, because it allows the people who, one of the things that we said is, in the first week, you don't take punishment for not filling out your matches. Essentially, you have to finish your second week with 6 matches before the punishments start kicking in.
Right. Gives people a chance to join at their leisure.
Exactly, and to build their pools, and like you might only get 1 game in before the Friday finishes, and you're not going to stress or 0. Yeah. And that was the problem, is a lot of people started at that low end of the curve and had very little games played, and then nobody took any losses from attrition. So the way the guilds were decided almost felt randomized at this point, Yeah. So, which they pretty much were in alphabetical order. It
was alphabetical, yeah. For the people who hadn't played at all, we had nothing to do but to assign them in alphabetical order. So
exactly. So
it turns out that some guilds
benefited greatly from that fact.
May have benefited a lot from that.
Yeah.
Whereas other guilds did not.
Yeah. So
there we go. So before we go, thanks to Face Montreal for sponsoring the league. To our producer, David Grinas, for all his hard work in making this video cast look as good as it does.
Yeah. And thank you, Chris. I'll see you in many times.
All right.